Caolan Smyth is a name that has become synonymous with the violent and ruthless world of organised crime in Ireland. His life, marked by a descent from a promising young boxer to a convicted hitman for the Kinahan cartel, encapsulates the tragic and destructive path that many young men find themselves on when drawn into the world of gang violence. Welcome back to Crime Chronicles. Stay tuned as we look at Caolan Smyth's story, which is one of lost potential, escalating criminality, and ultimately a 20-year prison sentence for attempted murder. Caolan Smyth was born on November 22nd of 1991 and grew up in the Coolock area of Dublin. He was the eldest of two children, and his early life was marked by the instability that often accompanies a broken home. His parents separated when he was still young, which led to what his defence later described as a period of inadequate supervision. Despite these challenges, Smyth showed promise in the boxing ring. He moved to County Louth at the age of 12, where he continued to develop his skills as a boxer, and even won an All-Ireland title, a significant achievement that suggested a bright future in the sport. However, the discipline and focus required in boxing did not translate to the rest of his life. Smyth left school after completing his junior certificate exams, and without the structure provided by either education or sport, he quickly became involved in petty crime. His early offences were relatively minor, but they set him on a path that would ultimately lead to more serious crimes. Smyth's first criminal conviction came in 2012 at the age of 20. This was the beginning of a pattern of criminal behaviour that would see him frequently come to the attention of local police. His early crimes were relatively low level, including siphoning diesel from a car in Duleek, County Meath, in January of 2013. This incident, described by his own solicitor as a Laurel and Hardy type situation because Smyth drove a petrol-engined car, resulted in no conviction. However, his criminal record continued to grow. By 2015, Smyth was handed a 5-year driving ban, and more serious convictions followed. These included burglary, car theft, and handling stolen property. Smyth's descent into more serious criminality coincided with his increasing association with a drug gang in the Finglas area, a group led by a criminal known as Mr. Flashy. Smyth's background as a boxer, combined with his imposing physical presence, standing over 6 feet 2 inches tall, made him an ideal enforcer for the gang. The gang Smyth was involved with had close ties to the Kinahan cartel, one of the most powerful and dangerous criminal organizations in Europe. The Kinahan cartel, started by Christy Kinahan and more recently led by his son Daniel, has been responsible for large-scale drug trafficking, money laundering, and numerous acts of violence across Ireland and beyond. It was this connection that eventually led to Caolan Smyth being employed as a hitman for the cartel. In the summer of 2017, Smyth was tasked with murdering James Gately, a 34-year-old man who had become a prime target for the Kinahan cartel. Gately was suspected of being involved in the 2016 Regency Hotel shooting, an attack that escalated the ongoing Kinahan-Hutch feud. Although Gately was never charged in connection with the Regency Hotel attack, the Kinahans believed he was involved and marked him for death. In April of 2017, police foiled an earlier attempt on Gately's life when they arrested an Estonian hitman, Imre Arakis, who had been sent to kill him. Gately was formally warned of the threat to his life and began wearing a bulletproof vest for protection. This precaution ultimately saved his life. On May the 10th of 2017, Caolan Smyth made his move. He tracked James Gately to a filling station in Dublin. As Gately sat in his car, Smyth approached and fired 5 bullets into his face and body. Remarkably, Gately survived the attack thanks to the Kevlar vest he was wearing. Police immediately launched an investigation, and Smyth was quickly identified as a chief suspect. CCTV footage captured Smyth at the filling station the previous day, driving the same vehicle used in the attack. Despite the evidence against him, Smyth was initially released without charge as detectives worked to build a stronger case. However, he remained undeterred and continued his involvement in organised crime in the Coolock and Ballymun areas. Smyth's criminal activities during this time also drew him into the orbit of a local feud that would further entangle him in violence and retribution. In May of 2019, Sean Little, a 22-year-old associate of Smyth's, was found shot dead in a burnt-out car in North Dublin. Little's murder was linked to a local feud that claimed several lives, and Smyth was one of the individuals suspected of being involved in his death. Despite his protestations of innocence, including taking a lie detector test in the UK, which indicated no involvement in the murder, Smyth remained a target for retaliation. The tensions escalated to the point where, in September 2019, police intervened just as a hit team was preparing to shoot Smyth at his home. The father of Sean Little, Stephen Little, was later jailed for 6 years for firearms possession. When arrested, he chillingly told police, "Had you given me another hour, I would have killed the bastard." Smyth narrowly escaped death, but the cycle of violence continued to close in around him. In October of 2019, Caolan Smyth was rearrested and charged with the attempted murder of James Gately. By this time, the police investigation had gathered enough evidence to link Smyth directly to the attack. The case was brought before the Special Criminal Court, a non-jury court established to deal with serious organised crime in Ireland. During the trial, it became clear that Smyth was not acting alone, but was part of a larger criminal conspiracy, directed by more senior figures within the Kinahan cartel. Mr. Justice Tony Hunt, who presided over the case, described Smyth as a ruthless and dangerous criminal who had acted in tandem with others. The court heard how Smyth had carried out surveillance on Gately and demonstrated proficiency with firearms when he shot him 5 times. The judge noted that Smyth was only denied the murder charge by luck, not by any lack of intent or skill on his part. On the day of his sentencing, Smyth was handed a 20-year prison term for attempted murder. As he was led away, he turned to his family in the courtroom and made a defiant remark. 5 World Cups and I'll be out. This statement, referencing the duration of his sentence in terms of football World Cup cycles, highlighted the cold, calculating attitude that had defined much of his life. Caolan Smyth's life is a tragic example of the destructive power of organised crime. From a promising young boxer to a ruthless hitman, Smyth's journey through the criminal underworld is marked by violence, betrayal, and wasted potential. His involvement with the Kinahan cartel and other criminal organisations ultimately led him down a path that culminated in a 20-year prison sentence for attempted murder. Smyth now joins the ranks of other criminals who have been caught in the crosshairs of law enforcement while carrying out the cartel's deadly bidding. His story serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of a life lived in service to organised crime, where loyalty is fleeting and the end game is often either death or a lengthy prison term. Whether Smyth will reflect on his choices during his time behind bars remains to be seen, but his case is a sobering example of the high price that comes with a life of crime. Thank you for joining us today on Crime Chronicles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends.